Hey guys, welcome back to the Leadership Detectives. Good to have you back for another session. Today we want to talk to you about managing upwards. Look, we've all got bosses. Whether you're in a small company, whether you're in a large corporation, even if you own your own business, you may have an investor or some key stakeholders who have some oversight in what you do. So it's quite important that you know how to manage that upward relationship. Managers have managers. So it's not just if you're a professional that you have to struggle with this. Everyone can benefit from you being able to manage upwards effectively. Your business benefits, your people benefit, and you yourself will benefit as well. So I hope you find this discussion useful between Neil and myself, and as we talk about some of the examples and some of the techniques that you can deploy. Neil and I also want to offer a free coaching session for anyone that wants to develop and improve their leadership skills. So if you want to take us up on that, please go to www.leadershipdetectives.com. But for now, listen in, enjoy, and please tell us what you think. Hey, welcome back to Leadership Detectives. Here we are for, I'm having to go through this. I think we're episode 35 right now.
35 or 36, yeah.
Something like that. So welcome. Good to see everybody here today. Neil, how are you? You good?
I'm pretty good, actually, yeah. I've had a good day today. Very productive, motivated day. It was actually interesting this morning. I had a conversation with someone who's a coach. It wasn't a coaching session.
Yeah.
But we were talking about just stuff in general, working with entrepreneurs and stuff. And he said to me, I was talking about some of the frustrations I have with not getting on with things I want to get on with. And he said, what's stopping you? And I thought, damn, I ask that question all the time. And he asked me that question, what's stopping you? And I couldn't think of a good answer. All I could think of was excuses.
Yeah.
And so actually, just by asking that one question this morning made me productive today, because I thought, actually, I haven't got any skills. I just need to get on with this stuff.
Yeah.
So no, I'm feeling good.
But it's interesting, the conversation you and I had earlier in the week, right? Where we had a lot of different things going on, and It is about stop and just decide what you're going to do. Yeah, we know that we can't multitask. We know that. Right? So it is about just decide where you want to spend your time and energy and get on with it.
Yeah.
So what we got in store? What we got in store for the guys today? What are we going to tell them today?
All right. Okay. So we're going to talk about doing a drum roll. We're going to talk about a topic we've been thinking about for ages, which is upward management or managing upwards.
Mm-hmm.
Because whilst we spend a lot of time on leadership and how to lead what's below you, it's absolutely critical to manage upwards as well, whether that's your boss, whether it's multiple bosses in a matrix type environment, whether it's to a board of investors, non-exec directors, chairman. So there's a whole host of people that you've got to lead upwards as well. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting point, actually, because I think we've said a number of times that leadership is also about being brave and courageous and masking your team from a lot of the stuff that comes down on you from above.
Yeah.
So that's fine coming in that direction, but now let's turn it on its head and let's look at how we work in the other direction as well. Right?
Yeah. So when we think about it, so why is this important then? What would you say to the question why it's important to manage upwards?
Well, I would have said, given that so much of what we want to do with our teams is driven by strategy and direction from above, we don't get the chance a lot of the time to decide what we want to do. We're given direction and we're giving strategy that we're there to execute. So being engaged with that and working well with your boss and having a good relationship with your boss or with other people who influence from above, I think that's one reason why I think it's key. I think there's a number of other reasons, right?
Yeah, I think so. You're 100% right. So there's that relationship with your boss makes it better for your team, for your business, for your what you want to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
The thought that came to my mind as you were saying that was, so what's the alternative? So don't manage your boss.
Yeah.
Don't manage upwards.
Yep.
Kind of keep everything a bit of a secret.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens when you go and ask for something?
Well, first of all, there's no relationship, I guess, is one thing, right? Secondly, there could be surprises go either way, right?
Yeah,
You could
right.
end
Yeah,
you
yeah,
you could end up with surprises because you didn't know because you didn't stay engaged.
yeah,
But you really don't want to have your boss being surprised by things that they should have known, not nice to have known, should have known.
yeah,
I mean, when we were in the sales world, Neil, it was very obvious what the main currency was we were dealing with. We were dealing with deals and relationship with customers, right? So if you were about to lose a customer, you better know your boss knows that's going to happen and do something to save it.
mm.
If you've just won a customer, wouldn't you want to go tell your boss that?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, wouldn't you want to make sure that they know what your team has done to help the business that day or that week? Because it helps promote your team, it helps your team, and there's nothing wrong with self-promotion,
No.
so long as it's valid and it's not beefed up to be something it's not. And then it gives them something that they can talk about to their boss, because remember, they've got bosses too.
Yeah.
So it gives them an opportunity to have something on their radar. And I can think of many examples where I've told someone something and I didn't know they had a meeting an hour later, and it's given them something positive to go to their boss or their board and say, we just won this deal, or this has just happened.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there are a couple of the good whys there, right?
Yeah. So I guess one of the things I want to start with, though, on this, and it's really interesting, I'll just tell you a little story. So I had a phone call from someone the other day talking about their boss, quite a young person, and they're new in the role. And they were saying to me, my boss doesn't seem to be engaging with me at the moment. And I feel like I'm not doing a good enough job because I don't know whether I'm doing the right things. And I said, well, look, just remember, they're human too. Mm-hmm. Don't assume it's anything to do with you. Mm-hmm. They're at home sitting in front of Zoom. They've got kids running around. They're probably feeling some of the motivational challenges that people feel at the moment.
Yeah.
So one of the first tips I give anyone when it comes to how do I manage my boss is remember they're humans too.
Yeah. No, really good point. Really good point.
Okay. What's your experience of that?
Well, but I've always tried to have a really good relationship with my boss, right? I've always tried to be open, and also on a formal and informal level, right? Mm-hmm. I recognize you're my boss, right? And I recognize you've got authority over me, and I recognize you're in control of my pay and rations and my promotion and all that. I get all that. But I also recognize that we're both human and we might end up having a beer one day, or we might just be talking about our families or whatever. And again, I don't feel awkward at separating those two things, right? I don't think I've got a really good relationship with you. That means that I've now got to let on not delivering what I've been appointed for. Mm-hmm. So that, again, it comes down to how comfortable you feel having that relationship. But I've most of the time I've always had bosses, and then I look at it and go, have I just been lucky, Neil, with the right bosses, or has it been my approach that's worked? Right?
Yeah, true. Although you haven't always had great relationships with some of your bosses, so it works with the ones who want to have a relationship.
Yeah.
But and actually that's a really important point as well. And I was kind of talking to someone yesterday about a frustration they have with their boss. They're in a meeting and he kind of sabotaged the meeting, didn't really help. And he was asking me, so how should I go and talk to my boss about this? And you've got to be careful. Firstly, you've got to remember, A, they're humans, B, they're your boss. Mm-hmm. And in this particular case, the guy is very senior and owns a big part of the company. So you've got to actually go, okay, what am I hoping to achieve by having this conversation? Is it for my ego to make me feel better that I've told him that I'm pissed off?
Yeah.
Or is it actually because I really want to try and fix something? And is it fixable? Or is that just the way they are? And giving them feedback actually might not make any difference. So there is a way of, you've got to gauge that. Is it worth doing, I guess?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
What about, have you fed back? Have you ever had to give, tough conversation with a boss about something you didn't want them to do or you were unhappy that they'd done?
I think I have had tough conversations with bosses about their behaviour. Um, Now, for those of you that listen to other episodes, you'll
Oh
know
yeah.
about one of those, but we won't go down that. I'll go more down the line of how they've worked with me and my team.
Yeah.
And the fact that when we're in a general team meeting, he seems to treat me differently. When we're sitting in a leadership meeting in a room, he seems to treat me differently than when I walk into his office and we have a chat. And what is that? I don't understand that. Now, in the back of my mind, I do. It's about position and it's about he's at the front of the room and he's got his stuff. But I said, that doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me because I don't know what I'm dealing with. I don't know which boss I'm coming in to see today. And I have a problem with that. But I also understand why they came from that point of view. So did it change anything? No. But did it allow us to have the conversation for them to know how I felt about it? And for them, actually, it became quite apologetic. They didn't mean to make me feel uncomfortable. And I said, but that's the effect it's having. So it was worth the conversation. I say it didn't change anything in their behavior because that's their style.
Yeah.
But I think our relationship was better having had that conversation.
And
now, it could have gone the other way, Neil. It could have got very messy, right?
Yeah, and I think that's why you've got to be very careful about deciding to have those conversations or not.
Yeah.
But it does make a good point, though, actually, about, it comes back to the human being piece.
Yeah.
Is quite often you do see a senior executive, a board member, almost performing a role when they're in a group environment reviewing you, because they are human too. They've got fears as well. They've got egos as well. And they're being viewed by their peer group, perhaps, or they're being viewed by your peer group. And so they have to perform a certain role in those type of environments. So I again, it's about understanding. If you understand that they need to appear to be the boss, if you understand that they've got an ego, if you understand that they might be scared or fearful, then I guess you can play to that as well to help manage them.
Yeah, I mean, my tip for our audience here would be put yourself in their chair.
Yeah, great.
Put yourself in their shoes, put yourself in their role and say, if you were there, how do you think you would handle that and why? And why do you think that's so different from what they're doing? If indeed it is different, because you might put yourself in their chair and go, do you know, I guess I'd probably do the same thing. Yeah. So just do that, guys. I mean, it's always good to put yourself in, a bit of empathy and put yourself in their position and see what you think, how you think you would act.
A really, really key point. And because if you think about sales, it's the same thing. How would a customer react if you were in this? But actually, I think you can accelerate that learning rather than trying to guess it. And I think that, as I was writing down some tips for today, this was my number one tip, was go and ask your boss or your upward manager, go and ask them, what is it they want and need from you? Be really up for ask the question. Don't wait for them to come to you. Go to them and ask them so that you can understand. Then you get it clear, right? I just want to clarify. You said you want this, 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 and this from me. Got it now. I'm going to go and do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And why should that be such an awkward thing, guys? There's no reason why you couldn't have that conversation and you get it really clear early on. You don't waste energy and time maybe doing things you don't need to do. You don't create reports you don't need to create, because you might be over egging this because you feel you've got to cover all the bases and it isn't what they want. And the best relationship you can have with your boss is that they're clear about what they want from you and that they tell you they'll come and ask you if they want something different or more.
I think that's, and don't wait to try and guess, because you're probably, this is where you get misalignment, because you think they want something and they want something else. So then you've got a mismatch. And when you've got a mismatch, someone's going to get frustrated.
Yeah.
You get frustrated because you're either you've done too much, or you're frustrated because you've done too little.
Yeah.
I had a great example actually last year. I was coaching someone who just got a new boss about 3 months in, and he said, I'm really trying to understand what they want from me, because I'm not sure whether they want me to update them daily, whether they want a weekly review of how we're doing. And these are quite senior people. He